I spent 2 years trapped in my own head, thinking myself into paralysis, until my therapist drew a simple triangle on a piece of paper that changed everything. Let me take you back to where I was. Picture this. It's 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. I haven't left my bed except to use the bathroom. My phone has 17 unread messages I can't bring myself to answer. There's a job application open on my laptop that's been sitting there for 3 days. My room is a mess. I haven't showered in 2 days. And in my head, it's like a stadium full of voices all screaming at once. If I don't apply for this job, I'll be unemployed forever. But if I do apply and they reject me, it'll prove I'm worthless. Maybe I should apply for something easier. But then I'm settling. But I'm not good enough for anything better anyway. I should text my friends back. But what do I even say? They probably think I'm flaky. They probably hate me. I hate everything. Why can't I just be normal? Why am I like this? I want to be better. I want to be nicer, more productive, more present, but I'm too stupid, too broken, too worthless. Round and round and round, an endless hamster wheel of thoughts that went nowhere but down. Depression convinced me that thinking was solving, that if I could just analyze the problem enough, think through every possible outcome, anticipate every disaster, I'd somehow find my way out. I thought if I could just figure it all out in my head, everything would click into place and I'd suddenly know what to do. But here's what actually happened. Thinking became feeling, and feeling became drowning. I wasn't just sad, I was exhausted. Exhausted from the constant noise in my head, exhausted from feeling everything and nothing at the same time. The weight of it all pressed down on my chest like concrete. I felt heavy, stuck, numb but also overwhelmed, like I was watching my life happen through foggy glass, unable to reach through and actually touch it. Mostly, I just felt like shit. Then I started CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. I didn't have high hopes, honestly. I'd tried therapy before and it hadn't helped much, but I was desperate enough to try again. And in one of our early sessions, my therapist pulled out a piece of paper and drew a triangle. 3 words: thinking, feeling, acting. She said these 3 things are connected. They influence each other constantly, and when you're mentally healthy, they're in balance. Each corner supports the others. But right now, look at your triangle. She had me map out where I was spending my energy. Thinking? Off the charts. I was thinking constantly, obsessively, about everything and nothing. Feeling? Completely overwhelmed, drowning in emotions I couldn't process or escape. Acting? Basically non-existent. I wasn't doing anything, just lying in bed, stuck in my head, drowning in feelings. My triangle wasn't a triangle at all. It was completely lopsided, collapsing in on itself. Depression loves this imbalance, she told me. It wants you stuck in your head, drowning in feelings, doing nothing. Because as long as you're not acting, nothing in your life actually changes. And as long as nothing changes, the negative thoughts and heavy feelings just get worse and worse. It's a trap. That hit me like a truck. I'd been so caught up in trying to think my way better, trying to feel my way out, that I'd completely forgotten the third option. I could do something. Even if it was small, even if I didn't feel like it, even if my thoughts told me it was pointless. So I started experimenting with action. Not big, dramatic life changes, just tiny acts of doing, baby steps, things so small they felt almost silly. One morning, I forced myself to do 10 push-ups. My brain screamed at me the entire time. This is pointless. You're out of shape. You'll quit in 3 days like you always do. Why are you even bothering? But I did them anyway. My arms shook. I could barely finish, but I did them. And you know what? For about 15 minutes afterward, my head was a little quieter. The voices dimmed. I felt something other than despair. I felt accomplished. Tiny, but real. Another day, I sent 1 job application. Just 1. My thoughts spiraled immediately. They won't hire you. You're not qualified. This is a waste of time. You're going to embarrass yourself. But I filled out the form asterisk, I attached my resume, I clicked submit, and even though I didn't hear back for weeks, something shifted inside me. I'd done something. I wasn't just thinking about my future, I was actually acting towards it, however small that action was. I texted a friend, Just, hey, how are you? My brain told me she'd be annoyed, that I was bothering her, that she probably didn't want to hear from me after I'd been so distant, but I sent it anyway. And she replied within minutes, genuinely happy to hear from me. I've been worried about you, she wrote, so glad you reached out. These tiny actions started to chip away at the fortress of negative thoughts I'd built. Because here's the thing about action. It generates evidence, real, tangible evidence that your thoughts might be wrong. My thoughts told me I was too weak to exercise. My actions proved I could do push-ups. My thoughts told me I'd never get a job. My actions proved I could at least apply. My thoughts told me everyone hated me. My actions, reaching out, proved people actually cared. Slowly, action by action, my triangle started to rebalance. And as it did, something incredible happened. My thoughts started to change. Not because I was forcing them to, or doing affirmations, or trying to think positive, but because my actions were feeding my brain different information, evidence that contradicted the depression narrative. The negative thought spirals didn't disappear overnight, but they got shorter, quieter, less convincing. I started catching them earlier. Okay, I'm thinking too much again, I'm spiraling. What's one thing I can actually do right now? Going for a walk, doing the dishes, calling my mom, applying for another job, going to the gym, making breakfast. Each action was a vote for a different version of myself, one who wasn't stuck, who wasn't helpless, who could actually influence their own life. But there was another tool my therapist introduced that I didn't expect to work at all: visualization. I really, genuinely hated my dad. Years of tension, unresolved arguments, things said and unsaid that had built up like a wall between us. I carried that weight everywhere, this knot of anger and hurt in my chest that colored everything. Every interaction felt strained. I'd snap at him over small things. I'd avoid his calls. My therapist suggested I try visualizing conversations with him, not planning what I'd actually say to him in real life, but just imagining getting everything off my chest in a safe space inside my mind. I was skeptical. How was imagining a conversation going to help anything? It felt like pretending, like escapism. But I tried it. I sat in my room, closed my eyes, and imagined sitting across from my dad. And I let it all out, everything I'd been holding in. The anger about how he treated me growing up, the disappointment, the hurt from things he'd said, things I'd probably never say to his face because they'd caused too much damage. In my mind, I said them all. I didn't hold back. And when I opened my eyes, I felt lighter, like I'd set down a backpack of bricks I'd been carrying for years. It didn't fix our relationship overnight, but it gave me space to breathe, space to be a little kinder to him in real life, because I wasn't so weighed down by everything I was holding in. That's when I realized visualization isn't just daydreaming, it's rehearsal, it's emotional processing. It's a way to work through things your conscious mind is too tangled up to address directly. So I started visualizing everything. The career I wanted, not just thinking vaguely I want a better job, but actually seeing myself in that role, doing that work, feeling competent and valued. The body I wanted, visualizing myself strong, healthy, energized, confident. Difficult conversations I needed to have, practicing them in my mind until they felt less terrifying. But the crucial part my therapist emphasized over and over is visualization without action is just fantasy, it's escapism. The magic happens when you visualize and then take action towards what you visualized. I visualized being kinder to my dad. Then I actually called him more often, bit my tongue when I wanted to snap, asked about his day, and listened to his answers. I visualized the career I wanted. Then I updated my resume, took an online course, and reached out to people in that field. I visualized the body I wanted. Then I showed up at the gym, even on days when I really didn't feel like it. Visualization gave me direction and motivation. Action gave me actual progress. And exercise, let me be crystal clear about this. Exercise always, always, always helps. I'm not saying it cures depression. I'm not saying you can just jog away a mental health crisis, but I am saying that when I'm spiraling, when my thoughts are screaming, when I feel like I'm drowning in my own head, 20 minutes of movement changes something in my brain that nothing else quite can. It doesn't have to be intense or impressive. A walk around the block, some stretching in my living room, dancing badly to music, anything that gets me out of my head and into my body. Because depression lives in the head, and sometimes you need to remember you're not just a brain floating in space. You're a whole person with a body that can move and feel physical things. The triangle taught me something nobody tells you about depression. Sometimes you can't think your way out. You can't wait until you feel better to start living better. Sometimes, most times, you have to act your way into new thoughts and new feelings. You have to do things before you're ready, before you feel like it, before your brain is convinced it'll work. Depression wants you stuck. The triangle